Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan of the Monaghan District Attorney's Office. My name is Chris Chichester. I have been in jail 6 times. 6 times the prosecutor's not talked in court. When I appear in court, a prosecutor from the District Attorney's Office is assigned to my concocted criminal charges, fiction, and lies. Who is it? This is the Freedom of Information Law dated this July 20th, 2023. So I hope to send you the link to this YouTube before 9 a.m. on July 20th. And then what you can do and what you won't do is mail the names of my prosecutors of silence to cchichesterjul4@gmail.com. It's that simple. It'll take you 5 minutes to do this. And you won't. You refuse. You're defiant. That's why you're corrupt. Freedom of Information Law, dated this July 20th. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester in Penfield Court before Paul C. Metzer, what is named the prosecutor, Sandy Dorley. That's the 5'2" 3-piece suit boy. Total silence from him. He's on delivered to jail. How am I in jail when the prosecutors making an argument that I committed a crime before Paul C. Metzer, this bald-headed, $28,000 widow in Little Penfield Court? Freedom of Information Law, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester in Penfield Court for John P. Menzo Jr. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandy Dorley? Is this Julie Hahn or is this not Julie Hahn? Who is it? You know who it is. Perry Duckles. You know who it is. Mark Monaghan. And you're going to refuse to tell me because you're corrupt. So then one of you hacks and sociopaths, that revolting shack at 47 South Fitzhugh, elevated me to Alex Renzi. And who was it? It's the prosecutor assigned to Alex Renzi. That's who. Is that Sandra Dorley? Or is it somebody else? Freedom of Information Law, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester in the New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Dorley? So these 3 files that I just read on this July 20th, which you should have in your office before 9 a.m., you can print this out, find the information to me, and send it to cchichesterjul4@gmail.com or 620 Park Avenue, PNB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. The address and email on the file is attached to the PDF, and you refuse because you're corrupt. Now, the 4th foil on here, because I copied these hacks and sociopaths in Penfield Court, James Humai Jr., the $34,000 hack and sociopath, Paul C. Metzer, $28,000 hack and sociopath. Send me those defective documents, and I know you refuse. And I'm going to tell the Department of Justice that John P. Menzo Jr., your predecessor, bald-headed widow Paul C. Metzer, released this accused child rapist and predator, Daniel DeLouse III, released him, and he does not recuse himself because he knows the family. Freedom of Information Law, the quote defective documents, end quote, cited by John P. Menzo Jr. in Penfield Court for the case of Daniel DeLouse III. This is why this room is revolting. This 70-year-old fossil doesn't recuse himself from the appearance of this citizen. I'm not under any opinion that he's guilty. I'm saying he's accused. He should have recused himself, and he didn't. That's why this room is corrupt. That's why this room is an abomination. So as I'm now here at 4 minutes, send it to me. You refuse because you're corrupt. Now, the freaks are on here. For John P. Menzo Jr., Paul C. Metzer, and Alex Renzi. Or if the freak is no longer employed at the District Attorney's Office, then tell me the freak is no longer employed. Because here you are, Perry Duckles, at $113,918.94. Here you are, Mark Monaghan, at $112,508.75. And for these 6-figure salaries, you're going to refuse to do a simple thing where I'm using a legally binding document upon you that you use at the District Attorney's Office to tell me to disclose the names of my prosecutors. It is insane to refuse. And the reason why I'm demanding these names, not so I can sit here in my little apartment in Rochester, New York, and hate them, which I do. I do that because I can see what they look like. The Appellate Division of State Supreme Court, for my research, is where an attorney's disbarred. I will be relentless about disbarment, being prosecuted in total silence. What would you think if you had a friend or family member, Perry Duckles, forced into court when the prosecutor talk, and your friend or family member is going to jail? I'm going to tell you what you're supposed to think. I will tell you what you need to think because you're corrupt. You need to think that that's an abomination. You need to think that that friend or family member's civil and constitutional rights were just abridged. So, I'm walking through this parking lot for the 4,000th time. This is how I'm brought to the attention of the sheriff's office. You can walk through this parking lot, Mark Monaghan and Perry Duckles. This is where I used to live right here, that residence. You can see this residence. You drive down Penfield Road, going toward Fairport. You can see it. I've walked through this parking lot 4,000 times. I moved here in 2012. My then girlfriend Laura Rowland. We moved from Webster to Penfield. Well, she's hired at the Penfield Public Library. I don't know. This revolting little room is down from the entrance to the library. So I'm walking back from Gold's Gym one day. This neighbor I shot, this 50-year-old man who lives with 70-year-old mother, I will soon write a criminal complaint about him for false reporting an incident. He starts to scream at me. I say, what's the problem? I have this confrontation with him that I've talked about repeatedly. He goes to the sheriff's office. This is how Shannon Meyer, Todd Baxter's then $67,000 cop freak, tries to concoct a crime for me, and she succeeded in trying. She tells a man named Steve Devs in Brock Hollow Tree in Lawn Care, where I distracted by this resident. If I come outside, they're going to arrest me. With 6 other Monroe County Sheriff officers, she's plotting and planning to do this. How ludicrous does that sound? I come outside, I say, nobody owns the land, and walk back on my road. That's how I'm charged with criminal contempt second. That's insane, what I just said. To be charged with a crime for telling a man on distracted nobody owns the land next to my residence, when, in fact, nobody owns this land, because Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Officer of Product Tax Service, can confirm it, and these 2 parasites, Nay Raj and Leila Kumar Shah, don't have the documentation. The lunatic fringe. People walk this parking lot all day long. When I write the criminal complaint about this Nay Raj Shah, he won't be arrested, charged, not going to be any time in jail for him. All day long, people walk this parking lot because I can see them. This is why people hate the police. If you were asked, Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan, why do citizens hate the police? Do you know? Can you answer that? I'll tell you what the answer is. Again, I'm going to tell you what you need to think. Why do citizens hate the police? It's because the police violently attack innocent citizens and the police concoct crimes for innocent citizens. And that's exactly what's happened to me over and over and over. Think you can answer that with moral honesty? I don't think you can. So after I came outside, I said, nobody owns the land next to my residence. Shannon Meyer, this then $67,000 cop freak, runs to my backyard, falls down on her face. 5 other freaks are there from the sheriff's office, put the handcuffs on me, they take me downtown, lock me in a bathroom. I urinated on myself. And that's when the Monroe County Sheriff Office employee came to me. He had this gruesome smile. That's the word I use when I talk about this. Phone in his hand, and there I am on his phone. That's how I know my right arm is weak. Because I'm telling Desmond, nobody owns this land. That's what I'm doing with my right arm. Nobody owns this land, I'm saying to him. And that's it right there. And they're lying about it because they know they can lie about a citizen who uses the phrase surveillance device. I believe if the great Pompeo used the phrase surveillance device, these freaks and sociopaths at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office would think, well, what's wrong with him when he's being accurate and truthful and honest about what it is? Because the public defender sent me the images too. Todd Baxter has seen this over and over. January 16, 2023, since January 16. Todd Baxter, this photograph is why you're a fanatic. This photograph is why I'm an extremist. This photograph is why you're a liar. This photograph is why I know the name is $67,000 disgusting as Shannon Meyer. This photograph is why people hate the police. Copy to Trinity Ross, United States Attorney, Paul Singleton, James Finley Jr., Mark Phillips, Regina Harper, Perry Ducks, and Michael Radler. I've sent this to you. Attached in PDF. Sandy Doran looks at this. I'm going to tell you what she's supposed to think. I'm going to tell you what you're supposed to think about your boss. Your boss is supposed to look at this language and look at this device. And your boss and you, Perry Ducks and Mark Monaghan, is supposed to think this is insane. This is corruption. This is why people hate the police. And you don't think that at all. They're coming to my residence to man my dog. 8 years I was with him, adopted him from Lollipop Farm Humane Society. If I go back to a dog adoption society when I move back to Albany, they'll turn me down because they'll see that I have a background of being in jail 6 times. When I say 6 times, I'm an innocent man, 6 times prosecuted in talk court. It won't matter. Fanatical cops. What I don't have When I write the criminal complaint about this Antonino Spano locking doors locking me out, what I don't have is my B-214. That was in my 1980 Mercury Capri when I drove home from 17 Cavalry 101st Airborne Division on April 14, 1988. Will protect him from being arrested. And other things that I'm not going to say. Because I don't want to put any ideas in your head. But I believe I know the other reasons why he won't be arrested. So I don't know anything. Everything is gone. My 1,000+ books are gone. My clothes are gone. He just locked the doors and locked me out. That requires a quarter. He doesn't have it. Took everything out of my residence, moved to a storage locker. That requires a quarter. He doesn't have it. My ex-girlfriend did this to me. She's refusing to tell me what happened. So I had a number of things in my residence. I had a picture of Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston in the second fight in Lewiston, Maine. This is the famous photograph taken by Neil Lightfer of Sports Illustrated, where Ali's standing over him like this, telling Liston to get up. I love that photograph so much. I've been a boxing fan my whole life, and I had a poster of it. I don't have it anymore. And I had photographs of Malcolm X in my residence, because I read the autobiography of Malcolm X and other things, and I don't agree with everything he says, but what I admire about him is that he's radical, and he was unconventional, and there was a lot of conflict between him and Dr. Martin Luther King, too, about the civil rights movement. So I've read about him, and I don't agree with everything, especially this quote, the chickens are coming home to roost. But I like the fact that he was defiant. And I like the fact that he asserted his human rights and his dignity. Well, I went to the public market, and this woman, Latoya, makes shirts. And she had a shirt there. I looked right at it. I said, "Can you make that for me?" And the shirt is Malcolm X. And I had this photograph, this exact photograph of Malcolm X. Anymore. Antonino Spano. This is hatred from this old man. And I hate this old man with such an intensity. Sometimes I think I could give myself a heart attack. And that's not good for anybody. But you should be honest with yourself. And I believe that millions of citizens, if all the facts and circumstances were the same, because I slept at Harris Island Park in Pemberton for 3 weeks with this old man. I had nowhere to go. I hate this old man with such intensity. If he was deposited in hell at 5,000 degrees and he was screaming in hell, I would love it. Because I have nothing against this old man. Because I slept in a park with this old man. Because my dress greens from the 101st Airborne Division are gone. Because all my clothes are gone. Because every single thing I own is gone because of this old man. And his age of 80 years old, and the fact that he speaks in broken English, and he's going to say things. If it gets to the point he possibly could be charged, he's going to say, "I didn't know this was a crime because I'm from Italy, and I don't know anything. And I don't know who's going to protect him. 80 years old is going to protect him. He should be arrested in jail." There are times where I think that he should be in state prison. Jail is a country club for this old man because I have nothing. Every single thing this old man took from me and forced me into a park. When I'm in Harris Island Park, there's a baseball field there if you've been there. And at night, people would walk through this park past midnight. And I would hear noises, and I would sit up on this bench, and I'd think, all right, where is it? And I would see people about 100 yards away. And then I would move from the park, and I'd go sleep near Wegmans on Penfield Road. And when it would rain, I'd have to find cover, and I'd go sleep underneath the trucks behind Target. So I was constantly moving around from this park, especially when it would rain. It's because this old man. All he had to do was evict me because, Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan, under the law of the state of New York, requires a court order to. It takes a court order to evict a tenant. That's what the Tenant Defense Project told me in my own research online. And he thinks just because I don't have a lease that I'm a non-person. I'm an unperson. You're not going to do anything. He won't be arrested. He won't be in charge. It'll be laughed at. When I write the criminal complaint, maybe not out loud, but your mind would think this is ridiculous. We got violent criminals here in Monaghan County, which is true. But does a life mean anything to you with the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office? The answer is no. You know why a life doesn't mean anything? Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan? Because I just read the Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case for Christopher Charge at Penfield Court for John P. Menzel Jr. What's the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doyle? Documentation for the case for Christopher Charge at Penfield Court for Paul C. Menzel. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doyle? Documentation for the case for Christopher Charge at the New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doyle? And her answer to me is, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to tell you the names of your prosecutors. And every time you write this FOIL where you demand of me, I disclose the names of your prosecutors. My answer to you, Chris Chichester, is go fuck yourself. Because she's corrupt. So, this is FedEx. FedEx is coming to you. This is what she's going to receive right here. She already received this, pardon me. This FedEx went to Attorney General Merrick Garland and Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. And you've already seen this too. So, Alex Renzi got it again. Attorney General got it. YouTube unconstitutional. Sharp tie back to Attorney Sandra and Judge Alex Renzi. I'm only going to read the first graph. Your officers will receive a criminal complaint from me in the next 7 days about 80-year-old Anthony spot off the airport in New York, locking me out of my residence in Penfield, New York, without a court order. He will not be arrested because of his age. Your officers will receive a criminal complaint from me in the next 7 days about an A-Rod shop, Penfield, New York. False reporting criminal act that has walked through a parking lot 4,000 times. He will not be arrested because your Kool-Aid drinks can't identify a crime. Your officers will receive a criminal complaint from me in the next 7 days about $75,904 Richard J. Seidman violently assaulting me in Penfield Public Library. He will not be arrested or fired because of a Monaghan County Sheriff's Office employee. So this is July 16th. And that came from Todd Baxter. She'd already had it. Because there's the receipt right there. Registered mail return receipt. Todd Baxter, Sheriff of Monaghan County, is in the embrace of violence because Richard J. Seidman's not going to be fired. When I write the criminal complaint about this violent assault upon me, he's not going to be arrested. Because Todd Baxter is the most ridiculous cop cliche there has ever been. He's the blue wall silence, which I've used that also on YouTube. I don't know. This is the last time I'm leaving my resume. Richard J. Seidman, this is fanaticism, corruption, and hatred. Seidman is looking at my front door, exit my door. He stalked me down Penfield Road in his vehicle. I get the bad road. They're still following me. I walk into the library, get a number, sit down. 5 minutes later, Seidman comes in. He runs at me in the library, takes his arm, slams it into the side of my head. It's the force of Seidman's arm hitting me in the head. I fell backwards, and then my head hit the ceramic tile. This is a violent assault upon me. He picks me up. Frog marches me out of the library. That's the language I've used repeatedly. And this is the important part, Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan, and it's not going to matter to you at all. When I enter Penfield Town Court, there's this $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metzel, waiting for me, and there's nobody there from the district attorney's office, and this is constitutional. Because I have talked about this, that's why this is called unconstitutional. And I could be wrong because of how bizarre the law is. I believe it's unconstitutional for this bald-headed $28,000 widow, Paul C. Metzel from Penfield Town Court, to convene Penfield Town Court where there's nobody from the district attorney's office present to make an argument that I've committed a crime for the express purpose that she's already concluded in her sick, diseased brain to send me to jail. Because where's my due process? And that means that Paul C. Metzel can send anybody to jail in the town of 36,000 in Penfield, New York, without you knowing about it at the district attorney's office. And what do you think about what I'm saying here, Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan? Redirect defendants away from Penfield Town Court and let them sit there with no defendants. And you could do this just to give citizens a fair hearing. But given the level of corruption from these judges, such as Alex Renzi, because he's every bit as corrupt as Paul C. Metzel and James Money Jr., perhaps it won't matter at all. So, this is the payroll for the Sheriff's Office. Shannon Meyer talked about this freak, Michael Houlihan, $73,000, and Richard J. Seidman. So these three freaks here, Michael Houlihan, Don Benedetto, Todd Baxter, $85,000 freak, waited on the private property of my neighbor 2 years ago. I'm again being stalked in Penfield. They come running at me as I exit my residence. I turn around and run away. I get to the back porch. I grab a hammer next to my back porch. Michael Houlihan grabs my arm. The hammer goes up. I run through the sliding glass door and I stop running. Michael Houlihan came back to the district attorney's office and lied instead of swung a hammer at him. And that's how I'm charged with attempted felony assault. Because the sheriff's office exits his vehicles, runs at me, knocks me down. My head slams down on the concrete pavement. I'm again violently attacked. They've violently attacked me repeatedly. Violently attacked at the library by a sheriff's office employee. Been violently attacked at Wegmans by a sheriff's office employee. Been violently attacked at the jail by a sheriff's office employee that I give a statement about. And I've been violently attacked at other places when I contact the appropriate regulatory authorities in Albany, Washington, D.C. I'm going to go into detail about that. So this is coming to Todd Baxter and Sandra Dorley, or has come, I should say, arrived. And it just doesn't matter to him. And Todd Baxter's going to look at this. This came on July 15th. Todd Baxter, Sheriff. Your violent psychopath employee, $75,904. Richard J. Seaman stalked me at the Pembroke Public Library, stood up at the computer terminal scene, ran at me, slammed his arm to the side of my head. I fell backwards, my head hit the ceramic tile floor. This violence is relevant to you. You embrace violence because you felt psychopath and criminal will not be fired. When I write a criminal complaint that will lay details of this assault by Seaman, you will not be arrested or prosecuted. Nothing will happen to your taxpayer subsidized sociopath that must undergo an immediate mental health examination. He will attack other innocent citizens. Did you order Seaman to stalk me into the library? Were you informed about his disgusting predatory behavior? Did you have no knowledge about his fanaticism and refuse to answer? Resign, Chris Chichester. So the two things about this is either this is a loose cannon cop, which could be the case. Todd Baxter doesn't know anything. Or Todd Baxter ordered him to stalk me into the library. And either way, this is why he's a sociopath, Todd Baxter. So I use a different email. This is Christopher.Chichester41. I won't look at that again or send it again, but so I can't be blocked. And you're on here, Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan, where it says comply with 26 Freedom of Information Law documents in PDF attached July 10th, 2023, you sociopaths. This information includes mailing names on prosecutor's silence, the address 620 Park Avenue listed below. You refuse because you're drenched in fanaticism, corruption, and hatred at prosecutor's silence before Lomenzo Menzorenzi. Then I'm telling you right here, Perry Duckles, it says disclosure. This is why you should be disbarred. Disclosure, 4113-918-94 Perry Douglas, Monaghan District Attorney's Office, July 10th. Apply with attached Freedom of Information Law documentation, mail names on prosecutor's silence, the address below. How is any citizen in jail or a prosecutor in talk court? How is any citizen in jail six times prosecutor in talk court? That's called fanaticism, corruption, and hatred. So on this link here, where you're copied with Elizabeth Buckley, Michelle Crowley, director of the grand jury, is freaked out and diced me when I'm not called to the grand jury and I don't know the grand jury's convening. Mark Monaghan's here. And then the sheriff office employees are here. Scott Alberti, Michael Rather, Captain Miller, $101,000 moved today. Then I'm talking about Michael Houlihan being a perjurer. I don't hear anything from the sheriff's office. We don't talk about our employee lying under oath. So, and the next one is this 40-plus pounds overweight fat girl, Lee LaRoque. When I'm in Livingston County Jail, went into my residence, tore the whole place apart, and she's still got my Acer Chromebook. So I tell Todd Baxter, July 6th, well, you're copied on here. Tell you 40-plus pounds is to blow Sheriff Baxter. What do you fail to understand about what I told you to do? You party switching, being a Muslim train wreck. This is an illegal search and seizure with a ridiculous document typed in Pennsylvania Court by $28,000 hack and fossil policy, and that's it. There is no probable cause to confiscate my Acer Chromebook from my residence 26 cents before I'm driving Penn from New York or anything. I'll never get my Chromebook back. Two people decide to enter a residence, Paul C. Metzer and his Lee LaRoque. I looked at her photo online. That's why I say she's 40-plus pounds overweight. She was outside the justice courts. It's disgraceful how overweight his employees are. And he's overweight, Todd Baxter. So that's why he allows his employees to be a joke. So, over and over and over. This is May 18th. May 18th, I demanded if Sandra Dorley came to your office. And what I'm not going to receive from Todd Baxter, the money in my pocket that I had when Richard J. Seaman attacked me. The issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester, the address below for an expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the county of my row office of sheriff. It may fund the cap because that's the dollar amount in the pocket of Chichester when he violently attacked the Pembroke Public Library $75,904 Richard J. Seaman, Monaghan Sheriff's Office. So on this May 18th, we can see that I said that I'm violently attacking. I've said this repeatedly. Todd Baxter does not care that his psychopath employees attack innocent citizens because his freak Richard J. Seaman is still employed. He won't be fired. He wants to get his 20. This freak Richard J. Seaman will continue to attack other innocent citizens. He'll arrive at his 20 and he'll retire. So, this is Vice on February 19th. You're on here, Perry Douglas and Mark Monaghan. I'm telling you all throughout this YouTube, disclose the names of my prosecutors. And you refuse. Just like here, read the attached February 16th, read the attached PDF, that's Freedom of Information Law, apply with attached Freedom of Information Law, disclose the names of prosecutors, resign. I'm talking about this freak Shannon Meyer right here. Todd Baxter looked at this. Well, I'm saying to him, in the documentation or on YouTube, and I'm calling his employee a freak for writing warrant for my arrest for parking on a walk through 4,000 times. It doesn't matter to him because he's a freak. Do you respect him, Perry Douglas and Mark Monaghan? Because you have to have thoughts when you're at the office or when you're doing the job about your level of respect for for the sheriff of Monroe County because you have to work with his employees. He is a nightmare, Jonestown, Kool-Aid drinking fanatic. And so is your boss, Sandra Dorley. And that's why you are unable to reach this intellectual moral conclusion about Todd Baxter, because you're just as intellectually, morally bankrupt, Perry Douglas and Mark Monaghan, as Todd Baxter and your boss, Sandra Dorley. Silence of violence. The silence of the district attorney's office convicts me and delivers me to jail 6 times. It's accompanied by the violence of the sheriff's office, and it does not matter to you two freaks, Perry Douglas and Mark Monaghan. It doesn't matter to Michelle Crowley, the director of the grand jury, and Ron Moran Sandwich. Doesn't matter to you, Elizabeth Buckley. Doesn't matter to any of you freaks and sociopaths at that revolting shack district attorney's office. Come on, my residents, man, my dog really took fringe insane. So, this is May 9th. The corruption of this revolting sick hack district attorney, Sandra Dorley. May 9th. I'm only going to read the first one. Information about the grand jury convened by district attorney Sandra Dorley. That is 1, the month and year of the grand jury's month and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned district attorney's office employee to address the grand jury. 3, the wit of the grand jury, the vote of the grand jurors, a transcript of the grand jury proceeding. I don't even know how I'm indicted when Michael Houlihan lied under oath and said I swung a hammer at him on my back porch. Does it, if there are 24 grand jurors, am I indicted by 13? Does it take a majority? Does it have to be unanimous? This is my life, you freaks and sociopaths. And I do not know the facts and circumstances of how I'm indicted by this grand jury. That Michelle Crowley convenes, but she doesn't interview me, doesn't call me to the district attorney's office. Most important, I don't testify before the grand jury. How do you explain this, Michelle Crowley, when I pursue you disbarment? So, this is on May 18th. On demanding his out-of-state travel. This is why he's corrupt. Here's his employee, Ryan Fisher, in Atlanta, Georgia. Held that up. Atlanta, Georgia, Super Bowl with his dog. Ridiculous. So he's got his employee, Ryan Fisher, at the Super Bowl with his dog. And Sandra Dorley is refusing to disclose all the out-of-state travel or any travel for the district attorney's office. And why is that? Do you know why? Because she's corrupt. They're looking for a photograph of his fellow freaks and fanatics underwater in a pool. Have you ever taken a photograph of yourselves underwater in a pool? You freaks at the district attorney's office. So I don't think I'm going to be able to find that photograph, and I have to move on. But I love his photograph because he's not doing his job, Todd Baxter, when he has his freaks and fanatics underwater in a pool. And I'm not going to be able to find this thing of these freaks and fanatics. I showed that repeatedly. And speaking of freaks and fanatics, you can walk through these parking lot, Perry Douglas and Mark Monaghan. On here, Vice, February 19th, Vice. I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors. Right here on this January 1, Perry Duckles. More than 6 months ago, I told you, we signed for documentation, registered mail return receipt, disclose the names of my prosecutors. And again, on this July 19th, disclose the names of my prosecutors. On July 18th, FOIL, disclose the names of my prosecutors here. April 27th, disclose the names of my prosecutors here. Is there sexual harassment at District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office? Title 7 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, sexual harassment. Mail the names of my prosecutors, silence, listed, blown, rocks, resign. I understand if I'm not roched, if I'm blown up, it's in your office, registered mail, return receipt, UPS, FedEx, any number of ways. This could possibly remove Sandra Dorley and Todd Baxter from office if there's a settlement. Or if the sexual predators are the assistant district attorneys and sheriff office employees, and nothing's being done about them. And it can be a male or a female. So, this does not matter to you. You can walk through that parking lot anytime you want. If I left where I live here on Park Avenue tomorrow and walk through this parking lot and this freak named Raj Shah, 50-year-old man who lives with 70 mothers, sees me, I'll be arrested. Lunatic fringe. You do not know that's the lunatic fringe. This is July 13th. This is in your office. What I'm saying now will arrive in your office. You'll still refuse. Disclose the names of my prosecutor's silence. You will continue to refuse a courtroom as a taxpayer subsidized public seating. When I force them to courtroom, it's because you have disgusting existence. It's because you hate the human condition. It is because you're a criminal. A criminal district attorney refused to tell a citizen the names of prosecutors assigned to his court appearances. So, what's justice about, Mark Monaghan and Perry Duckles? It's about money. If I had money, I wouldn't spend one goddamn day in jail. What do you think about violence in Rochester? Because I had a key fob when I lived next to the transit center on the street. And I prefer to have a key. This is why Rochester, New York City freaks. They have an electronic key fob. I've always had a key wherever I've lived. When I owned a home, when I rented apartments in Albany, Washington, D.C., a key. When these cop freaks like Shannon Meyer can conduct crimes for me and walk into a parking lot, and every single one is a fiction and fantasy, there is real violence in Monroe County crashing down on this county. And this is what this freak Shannon Meyer, and the reason why I use her name over and over, she began the destruction of my life. Because now I'm on the radar screen, the sheriff's office. And Michael Lewin and Don Benedetto and Andrew Reale concoct crimes for me after Shannon Meyer did. They concoct crimes for innocent citizens, these sociopaths at the sheriff's office. And you are totally oblivious to this fact. Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan. So Perry Duckles and Mark Monaghan. I'm going to read this again for you. Tell me the names of my prosecutors. Christopher.Chichester, mail.com, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Pemberton Court for John Pimenez Jr. was named the prosecutor, San Jorge. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Pemberton Court for Paul C. Metzer was named the prosecutor, San Jorge. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi was named the prosecutor, San Jorge. On July 20, 2023, you refuse, and that's why you, Perry Duckles, and you, Mark Monaghan, are